Hey everybody, and thanks for hopping in today. My name is Marisa Maggio out of Boston, Massachusetts with Family First Life Solidity. Today I have the honor and privilege of being here with Rami Hamady.
Thank you for having me today, Marisa. I do appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, super excited to have you here today. And really what we're going to cover and kind of unpack is, Rami, you've been in the business, and I'm not going to tell your whole story, I'll leave that to you, but you've been in the industry for under a year, right? And you've helped 50 families 2 months back to back. Prior to that, you've been helping over 20 families each and every month. So you're making a huge impact. So I really just want to kind of unpack that for any agent out there that's maybe brand new coming into this business, or anyone who's just maybe wanted to hear some different insights. So with that being said, Rami, if you don't mind introducing yourself, a little bit about who you are, what you were doing before FFL, and how you got into FFL.
Okay, so as Marisa mentioned, my name is Rami Hamady. I'm the agent for Family First Life. I began back in July of 2021. I started part-time. I was working in the hospital full-time as an exercise physiologist. I was currently participating in med school as well. I've known Marisa and Christina Maggio for some time now, so I kept seeing them posting on Instagram, and I was wondering, what are all these posts about? All these families being protected, always going out meeting new people. I was really intrigued. I just really wanted to understand what the business actually was. So I reached out to Marisa and I asked you, hey, what's up? How are you doing? We haven't spoken in a pretty long time. And I wanted to know more about the industry. She told me about it and I dove right in. So I said, hey, let's get started. I went from part-time to full-time within the last 6 months, and by far it was the best decision I've ever made.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that introduction, Rami. I think that, we never fail to show that anyone can do this, right? But it's not for everyone. Meaning, you have to have a work ethic to be able to do this, and you have to really care about people. And I think that shines right through with you, Rami, in home. And I think that clients can really feel that, right?
I agree.
It's like there's a difference when a doctor comes into, when you're sick and a doctor comes in and they're there to help you and they're almost rude or they feel negligent, right? There's been times like that. But then there's times a doctor comes in, they're soothing, they're relaxed, they're calm, and they're focusing on how we're going to fix the problem, right?
Of course.
So that doctor-patient mindset, right? And we bring that same thing into the home. So I think that you carried a lot of the good things from your previous career to Family First Life. And I think that's a beautiful thing because you're still helping so many people, but just in a different way. So that's beautiful. But Rami, just to kind of jump into things, tell us a little bit about your first month, what that looked like, what it felt like. Were you nervous? Were you excited? Both? Was it a roller coaster? Tell us a little bit about that.
So during my first month here, it was definitely exciting, but it was nerve-wracking to say the least. I did not know what I was getting into. I had no idea what I was participating in. I simply asked you, hey, tell me a little bit more about this company, a little more about this opportunity, and I just had a lot of faith and let's see where this where it can go. So at that point in time, I'll tell everybody this, when you first join FFL, you really want to follow the system. And I know it's very cliche, you're going to think it's redundant, and I may say this multiple times throughout this conversation, but it's the truth. You really want to follow the system because it's proven. There's many other people before me who has done this, and I'm not special. There's nothing about me that makes me different than any one of you today watching this video and is thinking on the fence. Should I join? Should I not? One thing I'll tell you is you're completely independent, so why not? Why would you not want to try it? Why would you want to work as a waiter, work on a 9-to-5 job, making minimum wage hour, or even making a little bit more than minimum wage, but you're not controlling your own schedule, and at the same time, you're not providing for yourself or your family, maybe on a very minute level. You really want to look at this opportunity not just as a place for you to come and just grow your potential financially. You really want to look at this as an opportunity to open the doors for many other families. And you want to open the door for many other agents that can come in here and help out. So that's kind of the mindset I took when I first entered. I was like I said, I was nervous, I was excited, but I was grateful at the same time. So I remember my first couple weeks, it was tough, of course. Had my no-shows, I was running through the script back and forth, didn't understand what I was doing, but all I did was I reached out to my upline, Marisa. I reached out to others in this industry. I watched all the videos, I stayed plugged in, I followed the system, and I just moved fast. I broke things and I adapted quickly. And that's pretty much my first month went. It went from me writing, I think, around 13 families, and then my second month I ended up helping 20 plus families.
All right, awesome. So, in your first month, having no prior insurance experience and being able to help, almost 20 families part-time, that's a big deal. Going from that part-time to full-time transition, I always like to encourage somebody that's coming in, brand new agent, brand new to the industry, or just, they're working another job and another career. I always encourage them to stay there and then work FFL part-time, right? And it can be a grind, right? You're doing, 40 plus hours, a week, and then on top of it, you're incorporating building your own business into that, right? So it can get, a little bit up and down, and it gets shaky if you don't, work the consistent schedule. So for you, Rami, what did that look like in terms of that transition of part-time to full-time? And when did you feel like you were able to make that transition?
Okay, so at the very beginning, like I mentioned, I was part-time. So being part-time FFL, I was doing one dial day, and I was doing two run days. But my run day is a little different. So how I would do it is I would come back home from work at 3:30. I would work 7 a.m. to 3:30. I would start to dial. I would dial until I had some appointments for the next day after work. So I'd go back to work the next day, 3:30, and then when I got out of work, I would go right to make appointments. So I continued that same structure, and then of course on my off days, I would either try to dial the night before or the day before to set my appointments for that off day so I can have a full run day, or the opposite, I would take that off day as a full dial day and then set my evening appointments for the afternoon from 3:30 on for each weekday. After that, I realized that after a few weeks and a month, 2 months being in the industry, I realized that there's no reason for me to divert any other energy or any other attention to any type of job outside of FFL, because this is truly the best opportunity and the best vehicle for you to succeed. So what I ended up doing was I just did my numbers out. I figured, hey, what do I need to make here to actually work? What do I need to make here to actually pay my bills and live? I did that out. I figured, hey, it's not too hard to do. It's pretty simple to complete as long as you just stay hard, you grind consistently, and have a good work ethic. So I figured out, hey, within 2 to 3 months, let me slowly transition out of the hospital and go full-time into FFL. I adopted being full-time into FFL about 4 to 5 months ago, and as I said prior, it was the best move I made, Marisa, and I recommend, as she did say, any agent who is part-time, before you go full-time, get your feet wet. You want to see exactly what the industry truly looks like. Because for me specifically, yes, I definitely could have. I came in fast, I broke things, I was very successful early on, but that may not be the case for you. It may be the case for you, but I would definitely encourage you to try, because you won't know until you do try. But at least you'll know how it actually looks like.
Absolutely, and Rami, sometimes I see people come in part-time and I want them to win and they want to win, but it's that grind, it's that working 16, 18 hours a day for a couple of months to work yourself out of your job, right? And that can be a grind, so hats off to you. But what I think you did an amazing job of was you just got out there, you got in front of 100 families as quickly as you could, and then you transitioned. It was like you had no excuse as to why the full-time agent was helping, more families than you. You wanted to be helping the same amount of families, if not more, than the full-time agent. Because you were looking at it like, this is about to be my new career, I have to act like it, right? I have to act my way into it. So with that being said, coming in, I guess, in making that jump and that leap, it was something that you wanted to do, and even, us being so close, I was kind of reluctant for you, and I never really gave a whole lot of an opinion. I almost just kind of left it to you, right? And you chose that because you were explaining to me, hey, I can still help people, right? I'm gonna, be able to provide for my family a bit better, and that was really important. And I love what I do. Like, I get to run my own business, and it becomes a beautiful thing from there. So the way you transitioned, it was beautiful. Essentially, it was exactly how, if you're coming in part-time, you're gonna have to work those 16, 18-hour days, but it's not gonna be forever unless you drag it out. If you drag it out for 6 months and this thing's not working, like, you're just probably not consistently following that schedule. So I empower you to do that because, again, anyone can do this. You just have to be willing to work hard. So with that being said, Rami, my next question for you, helping 50 plus families a month now, which is amazing because you're truly making an impact out there. What does your dial day look like? What does that activity look like? The intensity level, how do you treat the phones? Like, what does that look like in your mind?
Okay, so my mindset going into each dial day is the same. It's consistent. I walk into the office in my dial day knowing that I'm here to book appointments. I'm here to go through my leads. I'm not going to stop until I have my appointments booked. Until I have literally 15 or 16 to 20 solid appointments. not quick sets, not just appointments that, yeah, come on by. People who actually understand what I'm doing and what I'm going to be there for. Lastly, every dial day looks different, and that truthfully does. One day I'll be here from 8 a.m. till 1 p.m. and I'll have my full schedule. Some days I'll be here from 8 p.m. until 10 p.m. and not have any appointments fully booked. I'll have only 3, 4, 5, 6. So I say that, and the way I phrase it that way is my mindset every day or every dial day is the same. But not every single dial day is going to look the same. But my results are always going to be the same because I still keep that consistency and the same work ethic. I'm not just going to stop dialing because 100 people told me to screw off, or 100 people told me, hey, you know what, I'm not interested anymore. That's okay. You know what? I'm going to keep going through my leads. There are going to be families who need my help. They took the time out of their day to fill out a piece of paper, guys, send it back into the mail, and they're waiting for a response. Just think about that. How many papers do we fill out, send back in the mail? Not too many. So,
right, or how many inquiries do we fill out online or on Facebook or on the internet?
Exactly.
I can truthfully say I've never filled one out about life insurance.
Me either. I can truthfully say that as well.
Right, so these are folks that actually need our help.
Exactly. And the point of saying that is just keep that good mindset. Just keep that mindset that, hey, I'm here to help these families. And there are families who need your help. So I'll just come to the office, 8 a.m. I'll hop on the dial team. If every single agent should be on a dial team. Full-time, part-time, if you want to consider yourself 1 foot in, 1 foot out, it doesn't matter to me, you need to be on a dial team. Wouldn't you agree, Marisa?
Absolutely. I think that the dial team is crucial. It helps you learn and get to know other people. It also allows you to be able to unmute yourself and give feedback if you're not in an office. It allows you to hear from other top producers. It really just kind of plugs you into the whole team. So yeah, that's one thing you never failed on was plug it into that dial team.
No, of course, the dial team, guys, is crucial because you said that's how you guys are going to learn. You're going to learn by acting, by utilizing your actions, and by completing certain tasks. You're not going to learn just by watching a lot of videos. You can learn some information that way in a decent amount of substance content, but you're not going to master this industry that way or become the producer you want to be or help 50 families a month. In order for you to help 50 families a month, you're going to have to plug into dial team, you're going to have to become more comfortable, you're going to have to unmute yourself and just let people listen to you. Let other top producers chime in and let you know, hey, this is what you should be saying, this is how you sound. Because I truthfully think that's truly what helped me the most. I remember the very first interviews actually, when you first asked me to go on the dial team. And I told you, yeah, no problem, but deep down, I was nervous. I got really red. I get really red, guys, when I get nervous, by the way, so you'll soon see that eventually. But I was just super timid. I didn't understand. I was just thinking, you know what, am I ready for this? I've only been doing this a month, 2 months. But after I unmuted that mic and I started to talk, I realized that it wasn't just about me at that point in time. It was about every other agent on that call watching me dial. At that point, I had to separate that in my mind and say, Rami, I don't care if you don't feel good. I don't care if you're uncomfortable. You have to be confident. You have to act like you know what you're doing. So when people are watching you, they can actually learn. I don't want people to look at me and be like, hey, I learned the wrong thing to do. I'm not doing the right thing. I want them to look at me and be like, you know what? He may not be booking appointments, but he sounds damn good. And at least he looks like he knows what he's doing. So I just took that mindset and I just was confident. I would tell anybody going to a dial day, be extremely confident.
Absolutely. Confidence is definitely key on the phone, definitely key just in this business. I know that there's been times I've lost my confidence for a second, and I definitely have to find to pick it back up, put it in my pocket forever, right? So with that being said, Rami, so you're dialing, you're at the office, you're booking up your appointments, you expect to be there 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. If you're done earlier than that, you are. If not, it's all good. You're going about your day. And you're hopping on dial team. That's really, really important. Well, with that being said, let's transition to in-home because, Rami, there's a lot of, life insurance agents out there that aren't helping 50 families a month, right? And that are wondering, what am I doing wrong? Like, what do I need to do better? Why am I not helping 50 families a month or more, right? And I think that, it shouldn't go unrecognized 2 months in a row because that's not a mistake, right? That's intentional. There was intentional efforts put into that. And that's really important to point out, right? Because if you're moving without a goal, you're just moving. You're just going through the motions. You're not really working towards anything. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rami, but you had a goal to do this 2 months in a row, right?
Definitely.
And I also believe you had a contest, so to say, or a bet, rather.
A wager, we'll say. We had a wager.
A wager, okay. I'm not good with the verbiage here. A wager on if you were able to help 50 families. Paul incentivized you, right?
Yes, you did.
So thank you, Paul. I do appreciate that. And you hit that as well, though. But with that small incentive of somebody pushing you and challenging you in the right way, you hit that.
Correct.
Do you think that it might look a little bit different if maybe you didn't have that challenge?
Of course. Yeah, wholeheartedly. I agree with you. I think that without that incentive, without that challenge, I would have been working at my own pace. Whereas when someone gives you that incentive, like you said, or challenges you, it's like, okay, like let me see with the pace a little bit. Let me see if I can hit this number. Let me see if I am able to help this many families. And with that incentive, I was able to help that many families.
Absolutely, and sometimes a challenge can be the best thing because you're able to see what is this agent going to do with this? Are they going to be confident and know that they can hit it, or are they going to go ahead and just be like, well, 50 families, that's a lot of families, so I probably can't do it, right? In your case, you're like, I can do it, I got this, right? So incentivizing and appropriately challenging your agents, and what you really do a great job of, Rami, is appropriately challenging your clients, right? And I really want to hone in on this because, again, you're helping 50 plus families a month. There's something to be said about that because you're all in home. Is that right?
Yes.
So no telesales. You do a couple of Zooms maybe here and there.
Yeah, maybe 1 month. Maybe.
Okay, so you're all in home. So being able to help that many families in home, face to face, what about that? I guess, what do you think you do well in the home from the beginning to make sure that the client knows what's going to happen and they're really clear about the process?
Okay, so I think mainly with me, what I do really well in the home is one, I make the family feel comfortable. When I first walk into the home, I do like what everyone else does. I'll ask if my shoes on or off. I'll make a comment on the home. If it's a nice home, I'll say it's a nice home. If they have a dog, I'll comment on the dog. But the thing is, when I sit down with the family, I don't just go right into the financial inventory. I don't talk for 5 to 10, 15 minutes about their kids and their lifestyle. I truly sit down with them. I make them understand that I'm going to be talking to you guys about 2 very uncomfortable things today: your finances and debt. Secondly, do I have permission to be as brutally honest as I can be throughout this whole conversation? Because if I don't say that in recent times, in the beginning I didn't say this. When I would preface my sentences or when I would go through my inventory and I would notice that the income discrepancy is there and that the husband makes a lot more money than the wife, when I point it out to the husband, he would get really, really offended at times. And he would make it seem like, why are you talking to that my wife is not important or she doesn't make enough money? And that's not my point. I'm not attacking this family. I'm not telling them she's not important. I'm explaining that when you pass away, she loses more than 70% of her income. And if in the beginning I did not preface the conversation by asking, can I be brutally honest? I am telling you, those kind of conversations would not be taken kindly. They would definitely be disregarded and possibly just put it to a blind eye, and it would be more difficult to get through my inventory. Lastly, I always tell them, I mentioned that, guys, yes, we definitely could be technically called sales. I definitely understand that we're in the insurance industry, but I always go back to the point that I am an underwriter. I am not here to shove a product down your throat. I am here to see exactly what you qualify for, and then if I think you have a need for this kind of insurance, I'm going to show you the best product that will fit for you and your family. If I think you don't need it, I'm leaving your house. I'm closing my iPad and walking out on you. I don't care. I'm going to leave the house and go on to the next home because that next family needs my help. And guys, I promise you, every family needs insurance. There's a reason why in America we have to put car insurance in place. There's a reason that there's so many people has Apple Care. People love to insure things. They like to make sure that things are going to be okay when things get sticky or things get messy. The only thing about life insurance is that you're talking to someone about their livelihood. You're talking to someone about their 40, 50, 60-year-old life that they've been building. And you have to reiterate and kind of break them down to reality that, hey, I know you've been working hard for 60 years, but you may not be in the best situation possible if you are to die. And if you are able to get that point across to the family, it's going to work 10 out of 10 times. And lastly, I tell them, guys, I'm very direct and I'm very transparent. Like I said, I'm not in there becoming the best friend. I'm not going to sit down with you and talk to you for 35 minutes about your family and about your dog or anything else. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to literally go through my inventory, point out the points if it's needed, and outside of that, that's all I do. I just go through my inventory and I call my upline when I get to the back of the page. Once I think I need the help, I get the medication, and I have their whole story painted in front of me, and I ask the appropriate questions, I'm going to give my upline a call. And to this day, I will still call my upline. The reason that even I'm sitting with an 18-year-old healthy female, there's part of my in-home, but it gives me extra credibility. It makes them realize that, hey, he's looking for a secondary source. And many times I'll even call Christina. I'll call 2 people from the same home just to make sure I'll say, hey, don't worry, John and Mary, I'm going to get 2 advice, I'm going to get 2 opinions from 2 different underwriters because I just want to make sure I'm doing the best thing possible for you guys. And even when they both say the same exact things, that's 9 out of 10 times what happens. The other family appreciates that, and they say, you know what, thank you. We appreciate you actually calling these 2 individuals and not just telling me that this product's the best thing for me. And they always thank me for explaining it to them. I take my time at the end, and I truthfully make sure they understand what it is. I'll go through everything all over again. I don't care if it takes me 30, 45 minutes. I make sure I'm cementing that appointment and I'm cementing that family and that close. So I want to make sure that when I'm protecting them and I'm leaving that home, they believe they are protected. I don't want them to think that, you know what, it sounded good, we may be protected, but I don't feel protected. I want them to feel protected, if that can make any sense.
Absolutely. You hit on a lot of great things, Rami. All the way back from the top there, starting with, can I be honest with you guys here today, right? Because, I know I've been in homes where, you're sitting there and you're like, we got this quote from XYZ, person, and, they said that we can get $1 million and we're both 72 and are on blood thinners and, they're going to put them through a fully underwritten. Whereas I can explain, and you can explain why that wouldn't make sense to do and how that would actually be hurting them, right? But if you're not honest and authentic and direct throughout the whole entire appointment from the beginning, if you start to do that in the middle of the appointment or at the end of the appointment, you better believe they're not going to like you because they're going to think you're just being rude or demeaning because they're going to feel like sales pressure. Our whole goal is to eliminate sales pressure and increase credibility. So the way you're eliminating sales pressure is if there's a problem to be solved and we're able to solve it, we're going to solve it today, right? Yeah. If there's not a problem, then there's not a problem. I'm going to be honest with you guys about that.
Exactly.
Right? And no one ever died and said they had too much life insurance. Another thing, Rami, that you hit on there in regards to your in-home was not only honesty, but in terms of when you're going through your financial inventory, you ask questions that maybe aren't listed on that financial inventory. But before we hit on that, I want to hit on the income difference because being able to kind of work alongside you and kind of coach you through that in-home in the beginning, and we are definitely going to go back to your first in-home story for everyone out there because it just shows like it's a couple of small tweaks and adjustments away from being beautiful, right? So with that being said, Rami, when you're going through your financial inventory, you're asking about income. You had mentioned to me one day, I think I don't know exactly what the scenario was, but it was your first day. And you were like, the husband made, $10,000 a month and the wife made, she was a stay-at-home mom and, they have 3 kids that are all under 18 and it would be a mess. Like, what did I do wrong, right? And we went back and we reflected on that financial inventory and we reflected on the essence of breaking down, like, when you die, your income dies with you, right? And like I say that in every home till this day, because it might be, really black and white to me and you right now, but it wasn't always,
No.
Right? Like, so we want to remember this isn't something people are talking about every day. So when we have the opportunity to be with them and go through it, we have to make sure we're adding value and we're also painting a realistic picture of what is it going to look like when X person is no longer here, right? That's the bottom line. So with the income differentiation, that's a really big thing you gotta drive home. And it's not like you have to stay there for an hour, but if you know that John makes 10 grand a month and Mary makes 2, it's like, okay, so John, you make 10 grand a month, Mary, you make 2, combined household income is 12. All right, so now I understand exactly why I'm here. The income differentiation is pretty large. You guys agree? Of course they're going to agree, right?
All the time.
Every time. So with that being said, Rami, before we kind of go into the good questions that you asked, because you came into this business blazing in terms of you were willing to fail, right? You were willing to fail forward, right? And that's what I feel like every agent needs to realize is like, when I came into this industry, Lord willing, I was willing to fail because I was not able to help a family the whole first month. Now I'm thankful to say I've helped thousands and thousands of families, but I couldn't because my confidence wasn't there and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't need to know what I was doing. I had to go in there and have a conversation with 2 people about a test I just took. We got to know this whole life insurance. That's all we got to know.
That's it.
So, Rami, I know that, again, me, my first month, I wrote nothing, unfortunately. And now I'm not saying that that's the way to go. I was not in FFL's platform. This was at my practice company. However, my point being is, Rob, we talked a little bit about, I think it was your first or second appointment. It was your first day in the field, and you were trying to appropriately challenge your client.
Yeah, so I believe it was my first day in the field, my very first appointment. So the funny thing is, I'm Lebanese. I lived in Lebanon for about 10 to 12 years. So she was Lebanese. So I called her on the phone on the dial day, and she sounded excellent. She's like, you know what, come on over. Like, I'll meet you at my house. It's great. Give me the information. Sign me up. That was my mentality. I was like, you know what, to lay down. I go to the home. One, she didn't let me in the home. She was walking outside waiting to meet me. 2, we sat like literally on this tiny, tiny bench in her lobby, and we were just going through the inventory. She had no family, she had no friends, she was alone here, but she was still willing to look into the insurance because on the card, she read that there was a critical illness rider. Now, me being new and still a brand new agent and not thinking properly and not actually going through my inventory, I didn't think of how to utilize the living benefit. All I was doing was thinking, all right, which products do I have? How can I just kind of, make this person get enrolled into this program? So I would show her all these death benefits. I would explain to her all this information, and she would look at me and say, Rami, this makes no sense to me. I don't need this information. She's like, this does not benefit me in any way. I didn't take the time to think back and just explain to her what the living benefit could do for her. And she was in the age where she qualified for the CBO, where she could potentially have a full return of premium on the product she had and protected her living benefit in the meantime from the age of 50 to the age of 80. But because I rushed it in the home, because I wasn't prepared, because I didn't understand what my job was there to do. I was not there, like I said, to sell her. I was there to show her what she needed. And because I wasn't thinking about what she needed, the living benefit, I was thinking about what can I get out of this. So of course, it was a no sale. Of course.
Right, so your mindset changed in that home from, it sounds like you were in that home and you just wanted to make the sale.
Of course, yeah,
right?
Yeah, 100%.
You were like, it's not, I think it was your first home. You're like, I just want to close, right? I want to say I did it, right? And you focused on what you wanted,
exactly,
not what the client wanted. So it's like that goes to show, like you have to, listen twice as much as you speak when you're in home, because typically the client is going to tell you exactly what they need, but just not. They're not going to tell you they need Americo CBO, but that's what they're basically telling you. Right? Based off of their problem, that would be the solution, right? But you being new, you were focused on, okay, death benefit, how can I make money? How can I help this person and make money? I just want to win. I know you have a very competitive mentality. So now, I don't want to bore you guys. However, I do that actually wasn't the story I was referencing, Rami. Do you remember 30
There's
to
a range?
There's a range.
Okay.
That's the one I'm going for, because what that appointment though that you just talked about showed was most people, when we come into this business, we're not like rich, we're not over here like, oh yeah, we just want to, sell life insurance because, it was always a hobby. Like, I don't think anybody really comes in really thinking that. However, when you're able to change that mindset to, it's not about me, it's about the family, or these stack of leads are not leads, they're families, you start to look at it different from a psychological standpoint. Like, you're looking at them like they're actually people, because they are. And in that home, again, every new agent goes in that way. But how about that second home? What did that look like?
So the second home was a little different. I, of course, after going through my day and talking to Marisa, and just talking and thinking and understanding what I can do different, I entered this home. She was a 73-year-old lady. She was really, really nice. I get in her home and I started going through the financial inventory, and we were trying to put a final expense policy in place for her. So she keeps asking me, Rami, how much is this going to be? So I keep reiterating to her, no, how much do you want it to cost? Like, how much do you think it is? She keeps reiterating, no, Rami, you tell me how much it is. You're the expert. And I kept reiterating, no, you tell me how much it costs. You tell me what it costs. And finally, I got to a point where I gave her a range. I believe it was $30 to $120. And if you guys can imagine having a range between 30 to 120, she looked at him like, what is this kid doing? He has no idea what he's doing. Why is he giving me a range this wide? And as we go through the quote and we go through the financial inventory, she could afford it, and the price was in that range, but because of the way I was phrasing it and I made her feel that I was not the professional and that I did not know what I was talking about, and I was able to educate her and help her out the right way, she didn't end up pursuing it. Funny story is, literally 9 to 10 months later, I get that same exact lead again. And this time, she was already enrolled in a company which was double the price that she wanted to pay. And then all I had to do was basically talk to her again and say, hey, this is Rami. We spoke literally like about 9 months ago. I'm just gonna come back over, let me do my job properly this time because I know how to do it this time. So I went over it and I was able to help her and put her in a company that was much friendlier to her budget. And she really appreciated that. And she really understood that, hey, you know what? This person's actually here to help me now. He wasn't here just to ask me how much do I want to pay and try to make the sale. He really did come in here to protect my family.
Absolutely. So the first example would be an example of maybe inappropriately challenging your client.
Yes.
Right? Like you don't want to ask them, how much do they think it costs? You're supposed to be the one. That's your job, right? So I just think it's a funny story because it shows how quickly you can grow in this industry. It's like it just takes a week. It takes a day sometimes. It takes a month. Like you grew up in this industry and are helping over 50 families, probably more to come each and every month. And it's exciting because you went from, 80 to 120 a month to, helping over 50 families with a very direct approach. So just to kind of, couple last questions here would be, or last, major question would be, what are some questions that you ask in the home or in every home to make sure that the client is essentially selling you on the insurance on why they need it, so you're able to provide the proper solution?
Okay, so I'll just do a little step back. So it's not a question, but every home I walk into, I have my role and purpose. So I literally will say my role and purpose in every single home I go into. That will be my only constant in the home. Every other home is going to be different. Every family is different. Every person is different. We're all not copycat. We're not like duplicates. However, my role and purpose is always going to be the same. So I recommend for everyone watching this video today, develop a role and purpose. If you want to find out exactly what that is, reach out to myself, reach out to Christina, reach out to your upline, and they will help guide you to make a role and purpose that will be contingent upon you, and you can use that every single home. It's going to be your constant. Secondly, I'm very direct, so I always ask the family right in the beginning, why did you fill the form out? I say, what's the reason for this? I call it the surface why as reason taught me. So I say, why did you fill it out? They give me the reason of, I want a cost, or I wanted a quote. Then I'll dive in more. I'll say, no guys, you did not just fill this form out just to get numbers. Why did you fill it out? Who are you worried about dying? I'll say it just like that. I'll phrase it, who are you worried about dying? Then they look at me, and mind you guys, like I said, I preface this by telling them, can I be brutally honest? Right in the beginning. So now I'm asking questions, I've already asked that question. So they tell me, they'll say, you know what, I want to protect my wife. I say, okay, I'll write it down the inventory. Once I go through with it, I'll ask them the who, what, where, why, and how. What does it look like when Mary dies? Mary, what does it look like when John dies? I'll ask them who's going to come in and get involved, who's going to pay for the finances, who's going to cover the debt, who's going to pay the student loans, who's really going to come in here and make sure that the real estate office, the funeral home, and if you have a will, your lawyers all get contacted at the same time and they all figure out exactly what to do. Lastly, I always ask them as well, how are you going to do this? How are you guys going to have all these plans in place? Sure, you can tell me your kids are going to come and get involved and your kids are going to help pay for your mortgage and the funeral, but I ask this very simple question. If I called your son and daughter right now and I asked them, are they saving money to pay for your mortgage and your funeral? 9 out of 10 times they're going to tell you no. And I've had that happen. I've literally told families, hey, call your son, call your daughter, and ask them that one question. Just do me that courtesy. And I leave your house. They'll call, and the son will literally go, no, what are you talking about? Why would I be doing that? I have my own mortgage. I have my own family. Keep that in mind, guys, is that sure, they may have these amazing safety nets, but these safety nets are what ifs. The only permanent solution is providing life insurance for that individual to make sure when they die, they get 100% immediate payout. That's going right to that family. You can't dispute it. Sure, it can be contested and there's all these regulations, but in reality, the reality of it is, at the end of the day, this insurance policy is going to protect that family and it's going to provide them the financial security or peace of mind that when that person does die and they do lose that loved one, they're not going to be stressed. They're not going to have that discrepancy in cash. In addition, they're going to have a peace of mind. They're going to be able to grieve, live life, and continue to push through that loss. And then I always ask them as well. I just say, what made you fill the form out? And when I ask that towards the end, so I'll always reiterate, what made you fill it out? It's not just thinking about life and death. Did someone die in your life? What happened? Did anyone get sick? Did you have a family history of cancer, a family history of heart attacks? What is it? Are you worried about dying prematurely? Do you just want to have some money for your kids? I literally dig into that why. I really keep bringing it to the surface each and every time. I probably bring it to the surface 3 to 4 times, because without that why, you're not going to be able to build value in the home. If you're able to be direct and very forthright, as well as bringing out that why, there's going to be no reason the family is not going to think you're there to put them in the best situation possible. And the lucky thing is, and while we're so blessed, we're working with a company like Family First Life, is we have access to so many top carriers. We have access to so many good products that it's in my mind, personally, in my opinion, it's impossible not to find a company or a product that can fit that individual. And I really mean that. Even if they don't qualify for something that they think that they wanted, or they think that this may have been the best option for them, there's always a second or third option that is still going to provide them with that peace of mind. It's your job as the agent just to educate them and explain to them why option A, B, or C may be best for them.
Absolutely. You said a lot of good things there. I think really honing in on those who, what, where, when, why questions is really important. They can be really uncomfortable the first time you ask them, but like you say in the beginning, like, can I be honest? We're going to talk about 2 things no one likes to talk about: death and finance, right? And that's all you're doing, is you're in there to paint a logical picture of what is it going to look like when X person dies for X beneficiary, right? And you've overcome that, and it's really powerful, So awesome job, helping more than 50 families a month. It's amazing. It's great to see, and I love knowing that I've known you for so long. And being able to bring you in the business has truly been a pleasure, and it's been an honor to have you with us. And I think it goes to show, like, you're dripping on people if you're in this business. Like, there's other people out there that need this opportunity more than you might even know. And I will have you get into this now, Rami, but you were going through a little bit of a difficult situation when you came into this industry. And maybe if you weren't going through that, maybe you would have never reached out. But here's what I do know is you watched and clocked my Instagram story, for months, right? Like maybe years. So, you were coming in at one point or another. So, I think that just goes to show that not only are we here to help families, we're also here to help agents. We're also here to help give other people an opportunity that they may never have an at-bat at if you don't just show them it. Maybe you don't help 50 families a month and you just got started. Hey, that's normal. It's okay. You're going to get there, man. But don't have your success be dictated by if your friend or your family member or somebody that you know could do this. Because they might be a lot better at it than you. And you know what? That's okay. Because you still made a positive impact on that person's life. And I always say this, it's selfish if you're not sharing this opportunity. So just to kind of wrap things up, Rami, what are your goals to end 2022 for both personal, team, or whatever that looks like for you?
Yeah. So I definitely want to end 2022 hitting Hall of Fame, no doubt. Hopefully it will. So far, I know I will, but I'm pacing right now, so I just want to break it. I want to hit it a little sooner, hopefully in 10 or 9 months.
Hopefully, or you're going to?
Well, I'm going to Hall of Fame. I want to hit it in 9 months. We'll see how that goes. My team, I would love to get my team up. I did want to tell you as well, guys, that I am very, very grateful and happy for the both of you and your sister, for bringing me into this industry, and I'm really blessed to be in business with you guys. I really mean that, because I can say this, guys, and it's really truthful. My life today, I cannot tell you guys I would be where I am today if I did not join Family First Life. I don't know where I would be right now. I truthfully don't. What I do know now, though, is I am in the best vehicle ever, and I'm surrounded by really, really How do I put this the right way? It's just the environment and the culture, just the people that you surround yourself with, truthfully make you who you are. And I'm surrounded by the best, and I truly want to thank you guys for that.
Yeah, well, thank you, Rami, for believing in yourself and taking that leap of faith because it was all you, man. So, super excited for you. And no doubt in my mind, your team is going to be far surpassed $250,000 by the end of the year. Helping over 50 families a month individually and being able to teach others how to do that, it's really important, right? And I know that you have the skill to be able to do that because I've now seen it. So doing it yourself is one thing. Being able to duplicate it and teach other people, that's a whole nother thing, right? So, Rami, if there's an agent out there who's maybe looking to get started, looking into Family First Life, and they feel like they might be a good fit with you, what's the best way to reach you?
So you guys can reach out to me via Facebook or Instagram, Rami Hamady, Rami Hamady _, or you can text me at 617-775-9415.
One more time on your number?
617-775-9415.
Awesome. And closing out, Rami, is there anything else you feel like you'd want to put out there or you feel like an agent wanting to hear?
So I definitely want to reiterate, I know this point is probably redundant, but make it out to any event that you guys can. Any conventions, any sales conferences, make it out there. Because before I joined, I remember I went to the Tewksbury spring sales conference, or went to sales conference, one of the two before I first joined. It really opened my eyes. I was able to meet other producers, other top producers in the company. I was able to meet individuals like Paul McLean, Sean Mike, and just really understand that, hey, it's really from the ground up. It's in the roots. It's not just some people saying it. They really live the life they talk about. And once you see that, it truthfully makes you just want to grow. It makes you want to catch up. It's like, why can't I do this? If everyone else can do it, why can't I? And going to these kind of events, you'll see that. You'll see many people, all different walks of life, and you will truthfully start to realize this business is meant for anybody. You just have to really put your head down, work, have a really good, consistent work ethic, and just be coachable, and just be reliable.
Absolutely. I love that, Rami. And, big decisions are made at big events. So if you have an event near you, get there. Even if you're like, well, I'm not really sure, get there. Get yourself there. Because I too decided to come into this industry by going to an event. Basically, anybody I know who's thriving in this industry, they went to an event. So get yourself to an event, get yourself exposed to the environment and see if it's the right place for you. Because if you're in the insurance industry, in my personal opinion, there's not a better place out there. And I know that because I've done it. So I appreciate you all for tuning in. Rami, I appreciate you so much for being on, and you just added a bunch of value to the team, and we appreciate that. So thanks for being on today, and have a great day, guys. Take care.